It's time again this week that we get to visit with our Nebraska Extension agricultural climatologist, Al Dutcher. And Al, a pretty darn nice week. Definitely felt like spring, got some consistency with those warm days this past week. However, towards the end of the week, seeing rain across much of the region. What can we expect headed into our weekend and next week?
Well, Shaylee, it's kind of funny that less than a week ago, or a little bit about a week ago, we were sitting here looking at snow finally trying to completely melt off, and within a couple of days we were in the 70s, and we have not looked back. We've actually seen our lows starting to come up, and here in Lincoln, lows up in the 50s a couple of days consecutive in a row. Things are really starting to take off to some extent, but precipitation-wise, there hasn't been a lot of it, and that's led to some good field operations going on, although I know some areas of central and western Nebraska are just getting ready to roll. We really haven't had a significant amount of delays in terms of moisture across a substantial portion of the western corn belt, and I expect to see some big jumps in planted acreage, and by all means, the system that's working through right now, although it has produced some moderate rainfall, quarter to a half inch in the central portions of the panhandle, I haven't really seen any significant totals from the NE rain network this morning outside of maybe a quarter to a third of an inch in portions of west central Nebraska. Most areas less than 2/10 of an inch. But that system moving through today is expected to generate scattered showers and moves east. It's got to overcome a lot of dry air, but at least we are starting to see some returns coming down to the ground at surface, at least in the Grand Island to York area. And as that moves east, it's going to start to deepen that trough, and that'll allow more of a northwest flow in our region as we go into the weekend. So these next couple of days will be pretty much seasonable with the cloud cover and then the cooler air moving in as we go into tomorrow. But more importantly, as we go into this weekend, we will see some energy rotating around the back side of that trough, and that may be more impactful for eastern Nebraska with some scattered showers, primarily during the late afternoon, overnight hours. As that happens, we will see more of that warmth starting to build in western Nebraska. And by the time we get into the day on Monday, we will be looking more of a zonal type flow to a slight northwest flow as that system in the east starts to lift out into the northeastern United States. So most of the major heavy precipitation over this next couple of days is going to lie from Illinois eastward, and we could see some pretty significant moisture at that. So planting delay issues will be a problem from them. By the time we get into Tuesday, we will start to see that ridge firmly take control into our region, and we will see temperatures back up into the 70s and 80s widespread across the state, with little in the way of any significant moisture. And that ridge will continue to build eastward as the week progresses. We will start to see a troughing pattern start to develop in the western United States. And as that troughing pattern develops, we should start to see an increase in relative humidity levels later in next week. And I would be more concerned with the potential as we get into late next weekend for us to start getting into a wetter pattern. And in fact, the GFS models hinted at that first full weekend of May as being the potential to see some activity in this region, giving us some scattered thunderstorm activity. And after that, we go back into a drier pattern temporarily before we see more energy moving in. So over these next 2 weeks, it looks very promising for getting a lot of acreage planted within the state. There's minimal chances for widespread precipitation. Temperatures should average normal to well above normal throughout the period. And I expect that we will be well over 50% planted before we even get to the first weekend of May across a substantial portion of the state.
Thanks, Al. Nebraska Extension agricultural climatologist Al Dutcher. You're listening to the Rural Radio Network.